So why can't developing countries escape poverty? Many believe that colonialism ended after World War II when Western powers supposedly granted independence to their colonies. But did it really end? What is keeping them trapped in cycles of debt and underdevelopment? Is it just a lack of resources or effort? Or is there a deeper systemic reason behind this persistent issue? And how do developed countries continue to benefit from this situation? In this video, we will be exploring neocolonialism, the way developed countries continue to exploit former colonies through economic, political, and military means. When we think of colonialism, we picture empires and direct control over foreign lands. Neocolonialism, however, is more subtle. Instead of armies and governors as its main form of control, it uses economic policies, multinational corporations, and cultural influence to maintain control. The goal remains the same, however: to exploit the resources and labor of developing countries for the benefit of the developed world, aka the imperial core. One primary tool of neocolonialism is economic exploitation. Multinational corporations set up operation in developing countries where labor is cheap and resources are abundant. These companies extract immense wealth, paying workers a fraction of what they would in their home countries and often under appalling conditions. The profit flows back into the imperial core, leaving behind a trail of poverty and underdevelopment. Many developing nations find themselves trapped in cycles of debt enforced by institutions like the International Monetary Fund, also known as the IMF, and the World Bank. These institutions lend the money with strict conditions, requiring austerity measures, cutting social services, and opening markets to foreign exploitation. These policies hinder genuine development and keep these nations dependent on external assistance. It's like being a child who has to constantly ask their parents for money, keeping these countries stuck in a loop of dependence. Remember when I said that neocolonialism doesn't use armies and governors as its main form of control? Well, that doesn't mean it doesn't actually happen at all. Actually, it's quite the contrary. It happens a lot. The US and its NATO allies frequently manipulate the political landscapes of developing nations. Instead of directly controlling the government, they support governments that align with their interests, regardless of how these governments treat their citizens. When a government in a developing country dares to stick it up to American imperialism and prioritizes national interests over foreign exploitation, they face economic sanctions, political isolation, or even military intervention. These actions are justified under the guise of promoting democracy, but in reality, they only serve to maintain control over valuable resources in strategic regions. NATO does not care about democracy. It only cares about staying in control. Environmental exploitation is another critical aspect of neocolonialism. The global north constantly extracts natural resources from developing nations, leaving behind environmental devastation. But the exploitation doesn't stop there. Local governments and organizations in developing countries are often incentivized to destroy their own environments for the promise of economic rewards from the global north. This creates a massive profit motive for local entities to engage in environmental harmful activities like deforestation, mining, and overfishing with little regard for long-term ecological sustainability. For instance, vast tracts of the Amazon rainforest are cleared for agricultural and cattle ranching, driven by the demand for beef and soy in developed countries. Similarly, industrial mining operations in Africa devastate local ecosystems, driven by the global north's insatiable appetite for minerals and precious metals. Honestly, we could be here all day listing places where we rip their riches and deposit our trash. It's honestly saddening. The idea that colonialism ended after World War II is a massive lie. We no longer need direct control to devastate their countries. We do it through economic, political, and military means. The reality is that we in the imperial core are massive liars. We claim to promote freedom and independence, but our actions prove otherwise. We continue to abuse the global south endlessly, devastating their countries for the farce that is the capitalist ideal of infinite growth. The reason why developing countries can't escape poverty is simple: we just don't let them. Anytime they try to take matters into their own hands and stand up to American imperialism, they face severe repercussions from NATO and other Western institutions. We manipulate their political landscapes, exploit their natural resources, and impose crippling debts, all while belittling them and acting like they're saviors because they just can't seem to figure things out. The high living standards in many global north countries are sustained by this relentless exploitation of the global south. The Western lifestyle is only possible because we have deemed that the lives in other continents are not as valuable as ours. We say we ended slavery, yet we have enslaved almost entire continents. The people in the global south are as human as we are, and we do not have the right to exploit them for our gain. We are not prosperous, we are parasitic, living off the backs of millions who never got a say in their destiny. It's time to rise up against this exploitation and demand justice. Down with imperialism. We must stand in solidarity with the oppressed and fight for a world where every person is valued and respected. It's not just about correcting historical wrongs. It's about dismantling the systems of exploitation that continue to harm millions today, either that be in the global south or at home with the working class. If you enjoyed this video and would like to support us, and also stay updated on future episodes, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Additionally, you can support us on Patreon or visit our website to learn about alternative non-monetary ways to support our work. Join our public Discord server to become part of our community and submit questions for our Q&A on the monthly Politdigm podcast. Also, don't forget to drop a comment with questions you would like us to cover. Anyways, good studies, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.